Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl, Disc 7.
Monday, 8 May 1944. Dear Kitty, have I ever really told you anything about my family? I don't think I have, so I will begin now. My father's parents were very rich. His father had worked himself right up, and his mother came from a prominent family who were also rich. So in his youth, Daddy had a real little rich boy's upbringing. Parties every week, balls, festivities, beautiful girls, dinners, a large home, etc., etc. After Grandpa's death, all the money was lost during the World War and the inflation that followed. Daddy was therefore extremely well brought up, and he laughed very much yesterday when, for the first time in his 55 years, he scraped out the frying pan at table. Mummy's parents were rich too, and we often listened open-mouthed to stories of engagement parties of 250 people, private balls and dinners. One certainly could not call us rich now, but all my hopes are pinned on after the war. I can assure you, I'm not at all keen on a narrow, cramped existence like Mummy and Margot. I'd adore to go to Paris for a year, and London for a year to learn the languages and study the history of art. Compare that with Margot, who wants to be a midwife in Palestine. I always long to see beautiful dresses and interesting people. I want to see something of the world and do all kinds of exciting things. I've already told you this before, and a little money as well won't do any harm. Miep told us this morning about a party she went to celebrate an engagement. Both the future bride and bridegroom came from rich families, and everything was very grand. Miep made our mouths water telling us about the food they had. Vegetable soup with minced meatballs in it, cheese, rolls, hors d'oeuvres with eggs and roast beef, fancy cakes, wine, and cigarettes, as much as you wanted of everything. Black market. Miep had 10 drinks. Can that be the woman who calls herself a teetotaler? If Miep had all those, I wonder how many her spouse managed to knock back. Naturally, everyone at the party was a bit tipsy. There were 2 policemen from the fighting squad who took photos of the engaged couple. It seems as if we are never far from Miep's thoughts, because she took down the addresses of these men at once, in case anything should happen at some time or other and good Dutchmen might come in useful. She made our mouths water, we who get nothing but 2 spoonfuls of porridge for our breakfast, and whose tummies were so empty that they were positively rattling. We who get nothing but half-cooked spinach, to preserve the vitamins, and rotten potatoes day after day. We who get nothing but lettuce, cooked or raw, spinach, and yet again spinach in our hollow stomachs. Perhaps we may yet grow to be as strong as Popeye, although I don't see much sign of it at present. If Miep had taken us to the party, we shouldn't have left any rolls for the other guests. I can tell you we positively drew the words from Miep's lips. We gathered round her as if we'd never heard about delicious food or smart people in our lives before. And these are the granddaughters of a millionaire. The world is a queer place. Yours, Anna. Tuesday, 9 May 1944. Dear Kitty, I finished my story of Ellen the Fairy. I have copied it once on nice notepaper. It certainly looks very attractive, but is it really enough for Daddy's birthday? I don't know. Margot and Mummy have both written poems for him. Mr. Crawler came upstairs this afternoon with the news that Mrs. B., who used to act as a demonstrator for the business, wants to eat her boxed lunch in the office here at 2 o'clock every afternoon. Think of it! No one can come upstairs any more, the potatoes cannot be delivered, Ellie can't have any lunch, we can't go to the W.C., we mustn't move, etc., etc. We thought up the wildest and most varied suggestions to wheedle her away. Von Dawn thought that a good laxative in her coffee would be sufficient. "No," replied Koophuis, "I beg of you not, then we'd never get her off the box." Resounding laughter. "Off the box?" asked Mrs. Von Dawn. "What does that mean?" An explanation followed. "Can I always use it?" she then asked stupidly. "Imagine it," Ellie giggled. "If one asked for the box in Biencourts, they wouldn't even understand what you mean." "Oh, Kit, it's such wonderful weather. If only I could go outdoors." Yours, Anna. Wednesday, 10 May 1944. Dear Kitty, We were sitting in the attic doing some French yesterday afternoon when I suddenly heard water pattering down behind me. I asked Pater what it could be, but he didn't even reply, simply tore up to the loft where the source of the disaster was, and pushed Mooshy, who, because of the wet earth box, had sat down beside it, harshly back to the right place. A great din and disturbance followed, and Mooshy, who had finished by that time, dashed downstairs. Mooshy, seeking the convenience of something similar to his box, had chosen some wood shavings. The pool had trickled down from the loft into the attic immediately, and unfortunately landed just beside and in the barrel of potatoes. The ceiling was dripping, and as the attic floor is not free from holes either, several yellow drips came through the ceiling into the dining room, between a pile of stockings and some books, which were lying on the table. I was doubled up with laughter. It really was a scream. There was Mooshy crouching under a chair, Pater with water, bleaching powder, and floor-cloth, and Von Don trying to soothe everyone. The calamity was soon over, but it's a well-known fact that cats' puddles positively stink. The potatoes proved this only too clearly, and also the wood shavings that Daddy collected in a bucket to be burned. Poor Mooshy, how were you to know that peat is unobtainable? Yours, Anna. P.S. Our beloved Queen spoke to us yesterday and this evening. She is taking a holiday in order to be strong for her return to Holland. She used words like, "Soon, when I am back, speedy liberation, heroism, and heavy burdens." A speech by Gerbrandi followed. A clergyman concluded with a prayer to God to take care of the Jews, the people in concentration camps, in prisons, and in Germany. Yours, Anna. Thursday, 11 May 1944. Dear Kitty, I'm frightfully busy at the moment, and although it sounds mad, I haven't had time to get through my pile of work. Shall I tell you briefly what I have got to do? Well then, by tomorrow I must finish reading the first part of Galileo Galilei, as it has to be returned to the library. I only started it yesterday, but I shall manage it. Next week I have got to read Palestine at the Crossroads, and the second part of Galilei. Next I finished reading the first part of the biography of the Emperor Charles V yesterday, and it's essential that I work out all the diagrams and family trees that I have collected from it. After that, I have 3 pages of foreign words gathered from various books, which have all got to be recited, written down, and learned. Number 4 is that my film stars are all mixed up together, and are simply gasping to be tidied up. However, as such a clearance would take several days, and since Professor Anna, as she's already said, is choked with work, the chaos will have to remain a chaos. Next, Theseus, Oedipus, Peleus, Orpheus, Jason, and Hercules are all awaiting their turn to be arranged, as their different deeds lie crisscross in my mind like fancy threads in a dress. It's also high time Myron and Phidias had some treatment, if they wish to remain at all coherent. Likewise, it's the same with the 7 or 9 years' war. I'm mixing everything up together at this rate. Yes, but what can one do with such a memory? Think how forgetful I shall be when I'm 80. Oh, something else. The Bible. How long is it still going to take before I meet the bathing Susanna? And what do they mean by the guilt of Sodom and Gomorrah? Oh, there is such a terrible lot to find out and to learn. And in the meantime, I've left Liselette of the Faults completely in the lurch. Kitty, can you see that I'm just about bursting? Now, about something else. You've known for a long time that my greatest wish is to become a journalist some day, and later on a famous writer. Whether these leanings towards greatness, or insanity, will ever materialize remains to be seen, but I certainly have the subjects in my mind. In any case, I want to publish a book entitled Het Actuis after the war. Whether I shall succeed or not I cannot say, but my diary will be a great help. I have other ideas as well besides Het Actuis, but I will write more fully about them some other time, when they have taken a clearer form in my mind. Yours, Anna. Saturday, 13 May 1944. Dearest Kitty, it was Daddy's birthday yesterday. Mummy and Daddy have been married 19 years. The charwoman wasn't below, and the sun shone as it has never shone before in 1944. Our horse-chestnut is in full bloom, thickly covered with leaves, and much more beautiful than last year. Daddy received a biography of the life of Linnaeus from Coupeus, a book on nature from Crawler, Amsterdam by the Water from Dussel, a gigantic box from Van Daan, beautifully done up and almost professionally decorated, containing 3 eggs, a bottle of beer, a bottle of yogurt, and a green tie. It made our pot of syrup seem rather small. My roses smelled lovely compared with Miep's and Ellie's carnations, which had no smell, but were very pretty too. He was certainly spoiled. 50 fancy pastries have arrived. Heavenly! Daddy himself treated us to spiced gingerbread, beer for the gentlemen, and yogurt for the ladies. Enjoyment all around. Yours, Anna. Saturday, 20 May 1944. Dear Kitty, last evening I came downstairs from the attic, and as I entered the room saw at once the lovely case of carnations lying on the floor.